to yet another edition of Who Moved the Market. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. Today on the show, we are going to talk about the battle of the big bikes. Yes, you got that right. There is plenty of action in the top end of the motorcycle segment, and the big boys are going head to head. It's all guns blazing, literally, with high-profile launches coming in. Just earlier this week, we heard from the Hero-Harley stable. They came out with some premium launches. And today it has been all about the Triumph-Bajaj ventures, and these new launches are coming through. And the stocks are really telling a story. In today's trading action, for instance, you're seeing Hero up about 4%. Bajaj is gaining 3 to 3.5% as well. But Eicher Motors has been under pressure this week. The stock was down almost 6% yesterday, that is Tuesday, and it's down another 2% today as well. The market is asking the question that with these new launches, are things beginning to stir up? Is Eicher Motors' almost undisputed, unparalleled, unchallenged leadership in the premium bike segment, is that going to come under threat? Well, we have plenty to talk about, and I have my guest joining me on the show. Gurmeet Chadha of Complete Circle is with us. Gurmeet, always a pleasure to have you on. I am going to start with a disclaimer. I know nothing about riding motorcycles. Cars, I can still tell you something. Motorcycles, I know nothing. So we're completely relying on you. But welcome to the show, Gurmeet.
Thank you. Thank you. So my disclaimer is, since I own Eicher, both share as well as the bike, I could be biased.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you put the cards on the table. So, you know, that kind of sets us up. But really, Gurmeet, it's been quite interesting, right? I just want to take a step back. Today, here we are, and we're talking about this hot battle in premium bikes. And that is typically a segment that was reserved for only Eicher. When we would discuss Hero, it would only be about the rural segment and rural growth and, you know, the entry-level segment. Bajaj was this huge story on exports as well. But here we are, and premium is where the action is. What have you made of all the high-profile, you know, the launches that are happening, all the high-decibel talk around them as well?
No, you're absolutely right. You know, as the country grows, as the per capita income goes up, the premiumization trend is visible. Even in, you know, the 100-125cc segment, the companies who actually took the initiative and got the premiumization trend early, including TVS, especially for 125cc with Rider and Jupiter. Rider actually now does 30,000 units a month. Bajaj anyways was quick with Pulsar and other brands. And Hero was challenged after the tie-up with Honda, you know, broke off. So even in that segment, the premiumization trend is playing. And I think China is the nearest example we can always look up to. See the way the premiumization is played out. See, it's playing out in cars also. So I think this trend is here in auto. But I think we sometimes tend to get very excited just by the features of a particular model. But for a success, a lot goes into. So for example, you know, if you recollect, the Java SD came to India like a year and a half back, and there was a lot of noise that it will cut Eicher's share. But till the launch, and you know, obviously they will grow in future, they're still clocking like 3,000 units roughly on an average a month. Number has been stagnant. Eicher does 70, so June was 75,000 units, obviously exports included. So I think from the launch to setting up the network, I think it's a long journey. Just the launch doesn't make the difference. Auto, the bedrock is distribution. So for example, Eicher, if you see, it has 2,000 plus stores, 1,000 plus regular stores, and 1,000 plus is the Eicher Studios, right? Which is the specialized format to give the right experience, because customers want premium service. So I think it will be a long drawn battle, but to say early that Eicher will immediately get impacted, I think it's like talking very early about it.
Okay, fair enough. You know, it's great to have you in this discussion because we can grill you both as a customer and as a shareholder of the company. And, you know, and there's belief that you need to put in at both ends, as a customer and a shareholder. So let me ask you, you know, as a bike customer, as someone who rides really, what is it that could start, let's say, you know, tipping the scales even a little bit? Now, Harley's coming out with a big promise. I mean, for a lot of Indians, it's going to be, you know, the idea of a slightly more affordable Harley, because otherwise Harley was pretty much out of reach for the average Indian. Could that be disruptive in the market, just the power and the strength of the brand?
No, it will be at the margin to begin with. So if you see, Hero is talking about 100 premium outlets to begin with. And also leveraging upon the 2.0. Even if you see the X440 in terms of power, in terms of torque, I don't want to get too technical there. right? It clearly scores over the classic 350, which every has. But India is also about as much about city riding. You can't really drive fast with that kind of, especially metros, right? So it's the feel and the experience also which matters, and the resale value. And Royal Enfield enjoys phenomenal resale value even for the older versions. So a lot of will come into play. How easily the spare parts are available, the service part of it, and see the markets. Kerala, Punjab, there are different markets which behave very differently to different models, right? And I think it will play out. And even Royal Enfield, to its credit, has 15 models lined up for next 2 years across segments,
Wow.
right? So if you see, for example, with Hunter, they reduced the average ownership age to below 30. With Royal Enfield, it was slightly higher, so they're catering to the young segment. Then they have the Super Meteor 650. Then there is a Royal Enfield Classics, version 2, which is the 350cc standard one, which is a refresh there. There are a lot of models lined up, so I think it's a little too early to announce the winners. And a dominant guy, they understand the pulse better. Also on export segment, if you see, Eicher does very well. They have almost 20% market share in UK.
Yeah.
Great. So it's not easy to develop a market outside India,
Yeah.
right? So I think it will hot up. There will be some impact to Eicher. But as I said, a little too early to say disadvantage Eicher.
Okay, well, it's a fair point. I think the battle is only beginning now, right? So we have to watch the next 6 months odd to really see who gives who a run for their money. You mentioned exports, and that's a really comprehensive picture, because now I'm going to sort of talk more from an investor standpoint as well. Which is the best bike? That's a separate debate, and the verdict will be out soon enough. But from an investor standpoint, you have to look at the business in its totality. So just thoughts on Bajaj on that front, because what we saw in the monthly sales numbers as well, the June data that we just saw, was that the domestic market seems to be holding up. I mean, it's not firing away month on month, but it's kind of holding up in single digits year on year. But the whole hope is that at some point exports start turning around for these companies. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Eicher is doing much better than the others with respect to exports, because Bajaj has been really struggling in Africa, isn't it?
Absolutely. A lot of got to do is also with post-COVID, global supply chain disruption. Bajaj also is the largest three-wheeler maker in the world.
Yeah.
So Bajaj is a more comprehensive play, 22 times earnings despite the run-up, in the price, cash on the balance sheet. I also think that it's also better EV ready than some of the others. And I put TVS there. And with this FAME subsidy gone or reduced, I would not say gone, I think there will be some impact on the startups also, because a lot of the startups were threatening to eat away the market share due to the FAME subsidy. So, for example, on Chetak, which is their EV leading the forefront, they are already talking of 10,000 units a month production. So I think you will see the stronger guys, stronger balance sheet guys now with reduced subsidy, taking advantage and scaling. End of the day, India sells what? I mean, Hero alone sells 5 lakh bikes a month, right? So the volumes are huge, right? They sell like, and 2016 to 22 has been a washout for two-wheelers, right? It's hardly any growth there. And the ones which are at peace. So I think some of the growth will come back this year with also the rural economy recovering. So at the lower end, probably if you want to play 125cc, that segment, I think TVS fits the bill better. Their margins have been going up. iQube is doing well. A lot of launches in the scooter, moped, three-wheeler segment. And I think in the higher end, probably if you ask me, Eicher, I think should still continue. But, Eicher is not really cheap. I've never been cheap, but still at 30, 31 times earnings.
Okay, so since you brought up the valuation question, let's just get that out of the way. So Eicher would remain the most expensive stock in the two-wheeler order of things?
No, I think TVS on current price is more, but also TVS has run up also to its credit, right, from the lows. So I think 44, 45 times earnings for TVS on trailing basis, and forward about 35, 36 times. Eicher is more 31 times. I think the Hero and Bajaj valuation price would be around 20 times. With the kind of cash. So, I mean, tactically, I think if I were to play, from a near-term perspective, maybe Bajaj, in the near term. Hero's already run up, by the way. But if I want to be more structural, I would still, I know it's a bike, so I think still four-wheelers will outscore two-wheelers. I think that trend we will mirror China. Now, China sells probably more four-wheelers than two-wheelers already, right? I think India is there. The volume growth in passenger cars would be much higher than than bikes.
Okay, so let me sort of take a step back. If someone wants to add one or two-wheeler stocks in their portfolio, an overall sort of basket where they're playing consumer discretionary demand or autos, then like you mentioned, Hero and Bajaj seem to have valuation on their side. But that in terms of premiumization, if you're looking at maybe the margin profile, then maybe you want to be with the premium category where Eicher has been the clear winner. So my question to you is, first of all, what are the factors that someone should consider when they're picking a two-wheeler stock? And this is from a medium-term perspective, not just the next 6 months, but at least, let's say, the next 1-2 years. What factors would you give maximum importance to? And then, therefore, which stocks come out on top on those factors?
Sure. So I think return ratios obviously matter a lot. Strong balance sheet, as I said. And there's more disruption in EV in two-wheelers than in four-wheelers, right? So I think from a medium-term perspective, I think TVS and Bajaj both fit in the bill. More from a medium to long-term perspective. Clearly gaining market share. Hero, till the time it starts arresting it back. The lost market share, I would still tend to be more tactical there. But for, let's say, playing the larger theme, I think TVS and Bajaj look better. Bajaj probably better valued at this point of time, and very comprehensive portfolio, as I said, three-wheelers, scooters, EV portfolio ready, premiumization, and good balance sheet, export markets recovering, a lot of factors at play. And I will also play the auto ancillary. Look at the entire ecosystem, right? So, for example, the best-selling model for TVS has been, let's say, for example, Raider at, let's say, 30,000 units a month. A company like Sandhar Technologies makes the frame, metal sheets, etc. And the content value is almost 17,000 per bike as far as supply. I'm just giving an example, not a recommendation. So I would, Bajaj, Uno Minda is one of the, the major, partners.
Suppliers, yeah.
You play the entire ecosystem, not just, and that premiumization, the guys who's giving more content per vehicle, more kit value per vehicle will also benefit once the main OEM starts to.
Okay, that's an important one as well. So you mentioned Uno Minda, and which are the other auto ancillary stocks that you would play as part of the whole value chain?
Sandhar is another one, as I said. Sandhar, they are into locks, they are into metal sheets, they make cabin, they make frames for two-wheelers, etc. And they are finally getting the capital allocation back. For the first time last year, they made free cash flows. I think the free cash flow should maybe become 3x this year. They got additions like HMSI this year to the portfolio. They were mainly with Hero. Now they're adding more labels there.
Got it. Gurmeet, a word on Hero itself. Now, Hero has run up about 14-15% in this calendar year. That's half of the run that Bajaj Auto has seen. Bajaj Auto is up some 30% this year. How should we sort of position Hero in our minds now? Till now, it was always about entry-level bikes. You want to play rural recovery, then you look at Hero Moto. But now here they are with the Harley. So how do you position sort of Hero in the mind when you're looking at the pecking order in two-wheelers?
See, till the time I think they get the product mix in favor of premium more. Till probably it reaches 30-35%. I think both the margins as well as volumes will always be probably lesser than the industry. So I think it's too early, as I said. Even the Harley one, you probably look at what, 2,000 units a month. They do 5 units a month, right? So to move the needle, the number, even in the 125cc segment, I need to see more launches in that segment, which is what is playing out well, and gain in market share. I think for me the single because is they're arresting the fall, getting back to gaining volumes. I think that to me would be a bigger trigger for long term constructive view on Hero.
So are you going to keep your Eicher shares, or would you ever think of a switch given this intense churn in the space?
No, I've been lucky in terms of being invested in it for a very long period of time. So I intend to keep it. I don't intend to add further.
So you're a happy investor for now. And what about the bikes? Are you willing to test ride any of the new beautiful machines in town?
Yeah, both Triumph as well as X440. I think I'm a big bike as well as an SUV fan. So we'll try it out, of course.
Okay, so I think, I'm sure Gurmeet has his weekend plans cut out, considering, the launches have happened, and I think the dealerships will be buzzing as well. Before we let you go today, Gurmeet, I'm just going to throw in a different question. Since we're talking auto, and there's so much going on, auto stocks have had a huge run. I mean, they're participating in this rally, one of the better performing parts of the market. We, by the way, had a launch from Maruti today. They've launched their new MPV, they launched their Jimny. So there's so much going on in the auto space. On the four-wheeler side, Just leave us with a thought, which is the best stock for you as you see things now and why?
M&M, despite the run-up, still at about 15 times, getting the capital allocation strategy right. Even last year, when volumes of tractors were static, they gained market share, 41% kind of a market share in tractors. Tractors are coming back. This year is likely to grow now in single digit with rural recovery, hike in in the crop and the MSP prices. Also, the farm equipment business, they have given a great guidance that there is some value in terms of the subsidies. They have exited a lot of loss-making JVs and also getting the capital allocation strategy back. They're clearly doing very well on the SUV front. Now, their market share is almost touching 20%. They're regaining the market share they used to have in 2014. And, in cars, I have seen one thing. You need to crack the engine right. So Maruti cracked it with 1.3 liter engine in 2015, right? The Swift Desire, the Baleno, and I think on the 2-liter, 1.92 liter diesel engine front and others, I think Mahindra and Tata's have cracked it. So I think it's all about getting that, one base model right. TVS got back with Apache, right? And even in two-wheelers. So once you crack one particular model, then you really, so I think M&M, Tamo, I think, as I said, I would want to wait more and see it's run up quite a bit, but that's also in my radar. But on current valuations, I think M&M clearly.
Okay, fantastic classroom, Gurmeet. As always, it's such a pleasure to speak with you. Such a comprehensive view on the sector. We always come out so much more wiser. Thank you for joining in, and I wish you all the best for those rides. And I'm going to follow up and figure out which bike you liked, if at all, any of the new launches. Look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.